What is ketosis? Today we're going to talk about the details of ketosis and how you can take advantage of its many benefits. What's up guys, this is John with Lazy Keto. If you've done any research on the keto diet, you've come across this term ketosis. Your body needs to be in ketosis. What is this ketosis that we're talking about? So first off, it's important that we understand what is glucose. Glucose comes from the Greek word meaning sweet. People refer to it as blood sugar. What it is it's a source of energy that's stored in your cells, and your body is using glucose all the time for energy, and that energy is mostly coming from carbohydrates. So glucose is obviously important for energy, but the problem is if there's too much glucose in your bloodstream, it can be toxic. And so what happens is to get your glucose out of the bloodstream, insulin is what is produced. And the insulin will actually trigger your cells to kind of open up and take in that glucose and be stored as energy. Now, if you're not exercising or maybe you're overeating, you're going to have excess glucose in your system, and that will be stored as fat. Additionally, the more glucose you have in your system, the more your body has to produce insulin to push that glucose into your cells. Now, the worst case scenario is the more glucose you have in your system, the more insulin needs to be produced to get that glucose out and into the cells. And the more insulin you're pumping, the more resistant you can become. And the more resistant you become, the more insulin is produced, and it becomes this kind of this vicious cycle. And this is what can lead to type 2 diabetes. So we want to switch from using glucose as an energy source to using fat as our energy source. Now, when fat is being used as the energy source, ketones are being produced in the bloodstream. Ketones, ketosis. So ultimately, we want to turn our body from a sugar burner to a fat burner. And we do this by getting into ketosis. So why would we want to be in ketosis? Well, we've already stated the obvious. We want to burn fat instead of just sugar. But there's other benefits as well. Not only is it burning fat, but it's burning important fat. We have what's called subcutaneous fat, which is kind of the fat that lies underneath our skin. But then there's also the visceral fat, which is the fat that's kind of surrounding our organs. And that's the dangerous fat. And ketosis actually helps to reduce that visceral fat. In addition to fat loss, we have loss of hunger, we have more of a mental clarity, our good HDL cholesterol goes up and our bad LDL cholesterol goes down, and we have a lower level of triglycerides, which have been associated with heart disease. Okay, so obviously there's several benefits to ketosis. So how do we get our body into ketosis? Well, firstly, we can fast. We can reduce our food to zero, thus reducing our glucose, and the body will eventually switch to ketosis for its energy. The second thing we can do is we can drastically reduce our carbohydrates. And that is really the key focus of the keto diet, is taking those carbohydrates down as much as possible, thus taking the glucose levels down. In addition to that, we're going to eat like a moderate level of protein, and we're going to eat a lot of fat. Now, a lot of fat is kind of shocking to some people. They've always associated fat with being fat and also being unhealthy. But I think fats have been demonized for the last few decades, and we shouldn't be afraid of healthy fats. Healthy being the key word. We're not talking, vegetable fat and, high fructose corn syrup and hydrogenated this and that. We're talking avocado, olive oil, coconut oil, grass-fed butter, all those healthy fats, almonds, different kinds of nuts. Now, consuming this level of fat is going to kind of help convert the body to be using fat as its energy source, while at the same time reducing carbohydrates to get those glucose levels down and those insulin levels down. Now, we talked about fasting. You can also combine fasting with a low-carb diet, and that kind of turbocharges your ketosis to a whole new level. Not only are you keeping your insulin levels down, but when you are eating, you're keeping your carbohydrates way down, and you're just allowing your body to remain in that ketosis state. And as a bonus, exercise will help get that glycogen out of your muscles and kind of give another turbocharge to your body getting into ketosis. So overall, we've got fasting, low carb levels, high fat levels, exercise, moderate protein, and of course, no sugar. Glucose is essentially sugar, so we want to basically take our sugar levels to 0. So ultimately, the keto plan is kind of a 5% carbohydrate, 20% proteins, and 75% carbs. That's kind of the average macro level, and you can obviously adjust your levels as needed. Maybe you don't want to cut your carbs so drastically. Maybe you do 10% carbs instead, so you do kind of a modified keto plan. I think that's fine. I think you do what you can do. I think the most important thing is reducing your sugar and your carbs as much as possible, and this is going to help kick off your weight loss and reduce your fat stores. So why so much fat? Well, the high fat levels are actually there to keep you satiated from meal to meal. It is not recommended on the keto diet that you snack. Whenever you eat food, your insulin level spikes and your blood sugar levels also go up. And that actually just makes you even more hungry. So reducing snacks just allows your insulin levels and your blood sugar levels to remain low. The other reason that we consume a lot of fat is we're trying to kind of train our bodies to be using fat as a fuel source. So you're going to be burning the fat that you eat, also burning the fat that's already in your system. And the final question that we want to answer is whether ketosis is safe. Yes, ketosis is safe. Many experts have said that it's a natural state to be in, that our ancient ancestors were in ketosis all the time as they went long times between meals, and their bodies were using ketones as energy sources. Now, if you have gallbladder issues, I wouldn't jump right into the keto diet without seeing a physician. My wife's friend started the keto diet. She didn't really know much about it, but she started it, and she had horrible gallbladder problems, and I think she ended up having to get her gallbladder removed. So if you already have a bad gallbladder, get it checked out, get that all figured out before you start keto. Now, if you're diabetic, type 1, type 2, I would certainly see a physician before starting the keto diet. I've heard that it can reverse type 2 diabetes, which is awesome. But yeah, you'll definitely want to see a doctor first before doing that. Well, hopefully that helps you understand ketosis a little better. I appreciate you watching the video. Like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and we will see you in the next video.